Every morning at Hawthorne Dynamics began the same. Glass walls, polished shoes, voices echoing with self-importance. From where I pushed my cleaning cart, I could see the skyline glittering beyond the windows, a forest of glass and steel, built by men who never looked down long enough to notice the ones mopping beneath them. I'd been there 6 years, long enough to learn how to become invisible. My daughter, Maya, sat on the bench near the elevators, legs swinging, a notebook open on her lap. She was sketching gears again, her small fingers smudged with graphite. School was closed that day, and I couldn't afford a sitter. Bringing her with me was my only choice. "Stay quiet, Mija," I whispered as I passed with my mop. She nodded, the way she always did, eyes bright, obedient, too grown for 11. Everything felt calm, almost peaceful, until the air shifted. Julian Hawthorne, the CEO, stepped out of his office, a folded document in hand. The kind of man whose smile could sell anything. Power, disguised as charm. His suit was tailored, his confidence louder than the city outside. He strolled into the glass conference room where a dozen executives waited. "Morning, gentlemen," he said, voice smooth as silk. Then he laid the paper on the table. "Let's play a little game." That was how it always started with him. Games. From the corner of the room, I watched his reflection in the glass, and something deep in me, instinct maybe, went still. Julian raised the document like a magician showing off a trick. "This," he said, "is a proposal from our Russian partners. Translate it by noon, and whoever manages it gets my daily salary, $30,000. Laughter rippled around the table. Polite, forced, the kind that fills a room but leaves a bad taste. He loved moments like that. Loved watching grown men scramble to impress him. I kept wiping the conference table, pretending not to hear, but my hands had started trembling, just a little. Then his eyes drifted toward me, or rather, toward Maya. She ducked halfway behind my cleaning cart, drawing again, unaware that a man like him could turn even curiosity into cruelty. Julian smiled, that thin kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. "Or maybe," he said, tilting his head, "the Maid's daughter wants to try. They still teach Russian in public schools, right?" Laughter erupted, louder this time, freer now that he'd set the tone. I felt the sting before the words even sank in. "Maya, keep your head down," I whispered, forcing my voice steady. But when I looked at her, her small hands were curled into fists on her sketchbook. She was trembling, not from fear, but from something deeper. None of them knew what I knew, that her grandfather, my father, had once been a Soviet codebreaker who defected to America with nothing but a suitcase full of secrets. He had raised her on puzzles and ciphers, on bedtime stories written in Cyrillic. And the paper Julian held so carelessly in his hand, the one he waved around for sport, contained words she already understood. She just didn't know that yet. That night, our apartment felt smaller than usual. The fridge hummed like a warning. A slow leak dripped somewhere near the bathroom. On the wall above the couch, the eviction notice hung crooked, a red stamp cutting through the paper like a wound. Maya sat by the window, her sketchbook open. But she wasn't drawing. She was staring at my father's old notebook, the one filled with neat Russian handwriting and puzzle grids he used to make for her. I sat at the table, counting what little cash I had left. 2 more days, I whispered to myself. Just 2 days to find the money. Maya looked up. "Mom," she said softly, "what if I could help?" I almost smiled. "You already do, Mija, just by being you." But when I turned away, I saw her reading one of my father's notes again, his handwriting clear and sharp even after all these years. To understand a code is to see through arrogance. The next morning, while I cleaned the boardroom, she slipped something under the Russian proposal, a neat stack of pages in her own handwriting. She didn't say a word. By noon, the office buzzed with excitement. Julian strode into the room, waving the translated document. "We've cracked it," he said. "Brilliant work." Applause followed. Cameras flashed. Maya watched through the glass wall, her small face glowing with pride. Then she heard him. Mr. Daniels, the senior engineer, stepped forward, smoothing his tie. "I stayed late to finish it, sir," he lied. "Didn't think it'd be ready this fast." Julian clapped him on the back. "You've earned your bonus." Laughter filled the room again. Not cruel this time, but congratulatory. The kind that hurts worse. From my cart, I saw Maya's reflection in the glass. Her expression didn't break. She just stood there, quiet, her hands at her sides. But I could tell. Something inside her had turned cold. Her miracle had been stolen. And I knew my daughter well enough to know she wouldn't let that be the end of it. The next morning, Maya came with me again. Same bench, same notebook. But this time her face was calm in that dangerous way my father's had been when he solved something everyone else thought impossible. While I polished the executive lounge, she slipped away. I didn't see her until nearly noon. She was standing by Mr. Daniels' office door, her hands behind her back, like a child waiting to ask permission for something innocent. But I knew that stillness. It wasn't innocence. It was precision. Later, as she told me, she had left a new translation on his desk, neatly typed, with one phrase altered. Electromagnetic stabilization had become magnetic containment loop. To anyone glancing over it, the change was invisible. To an engineer, it was catastrophic. That afternoon, the investors gathered for the live demonstration. Cameras rolling, reporters lined up like vultures. The air smelled of coffee and adrenaline. Julian stood at the front, all charm and confidence. "Gentlemen," he said, "today, Hawthorne Dynamics shows the future." The future lasted 12 seconds. A hiss, a spark. Then the lights flickered and the machine burst into a plume of smoke. Someone screamed. Glass cracked. Panic spread. Julian slammed his fist on the table. "Who translated that section?" Daniel stammered, I did, sir." The Russian consultant frowned. "Then you should know this phrase is nonsense. It means nothing in our field." Silence fell. Sharp. Total. Julian's gaze swept the room. Slowly, it found me, and the little girl standing beside my cart. "You," he said quietly. "Come here." I stepped forward to shield her. "Please, sir, she didn't—" But his voice softened, almost curious. "Let her speak." Maya's chin trembled once, then steadied. He handed her the document. "Read it," he said. And she did, flawlessly, her voice smooth, confident, every word in perfect Russian. Then she explained the error, the meaning of each term, the exact logic of her correction. The Russian investor leaned back, eyebrows raised. "This child," he said in disbelief. understands more than your entire department." Julian turned to her, color draining from his face. "You did this?" She nodded. He looked at me, really looked, maybe for the first time, and said, "Pay her mother my salary, and double as a bonus, effective immediately." No one in that room laughed this time. That evening, we walked out through the main lobby, not the service entrance. The guard, who had never once looked up from his post, opened the glass doors and said, "Good night, Mrs. Torres." For the first time in 6 years, I felt seen. Weeks passed. News spread, not as gossip, but as a story people told each other when they needed to believe that effort still meant something. Julian started something called the Torres Fellowship, a scholarship for children of working families. When the cameras were off, he pulled me aside and said quietly, "My father was a janitor too. I built this company to prove people like him could matter." Somewhere along the way, I forgot that truth. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Maybe forgiveness is a language without words. 10 years later, I sat in the front row of the same conference hall. Only now, Maya stood at the podium, the youngest engineer in the company's history. She unveiled a clean energy design based on the same notes my father had once scribbled in Russian. Julian, older now, grayer, sat beside me, his eyes shining like a man seeing his own redemption in someone else's success. When the applause thundered, Maya didn't look at the cameras. She looked at me, the way she had when she was a little girl hiding behind a cleaning cart. My father used to tell her, "Language can change empires." Watching her that night, I finally understood what he meant. Words can reveal power, but courage can rewrite the world.